So the DJI Pocket 3 has gone up in price. What used to be $519 for the basic kit now costs $761, last I checked this morning on Amazon. And what used to cost $629 for the creator combo now costs $800. That is a price increase of about $200. Pretty insane. So I've had this DJI Pocket 3, which we're filming on right now. I've had it for quite some time. We're coming up to a year. And while I have enjoyed it for the most part, I've always felt that it is a very polarizing camera. What I mean by that is it does some things amazing, like this, walking and talking, sticking the camera in your face, absolutely awesome. But when it comes to things like capturing B-roll fast, capturing a different variety of shots, and photography, it basically is worse than your phone. It can't do it at all. One thing that's always really appealed to me about this camera is the price. DJI priced this thing, it was absolutely awesome. It blew everything else out of the water. The closest thing you can get to this would be a Sony ZV-1 Mark I, which has trash stabilization, or you can get a ZV-1 Mark II, but the stabilization, you get those wobbles, but you still have to invest in batteries, a tripod, shotgun microphones. You're well over $1,000 at that point, whereas for under $700, what used to be $629, you get the camera, you get a battery, you get a microphone, I'm using one right now, and you get a couple of ND filters and other filters. I really don't use filters on my cameras or lenses. I just use one just to protect it from scratches. Now that that price increase came along, it's kind of insane. Maybe it's because they're low on stock. Maybe it's because the demand is super high. Maybe it's because of the tariffs and all the politics. I really don't focus on politics. I just focus on me and solving my own sets of problems. But whatever it is, it's kind of a letdown to see that the prices have gone up. Hopefully it's just temporary, and maybe the prices will come back down if they ever come out with the Pocket 4. But what used to be one of the big advantages is now still an advantage, but just not as much as it used to be. It's not a great deal. It's just kind of like a decent and a pretty good deal. All right, now with all that being said, let's go through a quick list of pros and cons that you wouldn't really think about, or at least for me, they weren't as obvious at first. So for the pros, we all know you get amazing stabilization with the gimbal. You get a nice background blur. It does very well in low light for a 1-inch sensored camera. It's lightweight, it's cheaper. Used to be super cheap, it's cheaper. We all know that it's great, right? But one of the pros, the first thing that I realized is how easy it is to just quickly connect up the DJI Mic 2 wirelessly. You can do this with your phone, but you're always going to need some sort of a dock, and then you got to remember it. You turn the dock on and the microphone on. With this one, it just eliminates that issue. And the Bluetooth, using the iPhone and the DJI with the Bluetooth, it's too many clicks. This one, all you got to do is pair it up before you go out. Keep it under your shirt, like I have mine right here. I have it on the inside of my shirt, so it's not as obvious. Turn the camera on, turn the microphone on, boom. There we go. I will show you what I'm talking about. I'll demonstrate. So we're gonna turn the microphone off. So right now the microphone is off. I'm gonna look at the screen, so I'm gonna count. Okay, so pressing now, 1, 2, 3, 3 seconds. That's it. And you have good audio. If you're in a loud environment, if it's windy, you don't have to worry about it. It's just awesome. It's super easy, super convenient. That is something that I really was not expecting to enjoy so much. And the next pro is going to be how easy it is to actually just go ahead, plop it down on the ledge that you see right here, and for the most part, you're good. Now you can get those really cool walking by shots, walking up to the camera, everything like that. And it really just has to do with this camera comes with a small tripod, and it basically is like a built-in tripod. You could even get some cheaper tripods, and you could even make it stand up straight. But if you're just looking for something that you could very easily just plop down on the ledge, you can get your static shots. You could even walk further away with the wireless microphone. That is something that I was pleasantly surprised in. Now, of course, you could do this with any camera, but if you do it with a full frame mirrorless or even a smaller camera, you're gonna have to remember to connect that tripod. You might have to screw it in. You can get quick release tripods. Hey, puppy in that window. You can get quick release tripods, but nothing is as intuitive as just, for example, here is a ledge, which is just some trash that people are leaving out. Nothing is as intuitive as just having it at the ready and not having to worry about it. Plus, tripods for anything other than a small point and shoot camera are going to just be an extra pound or so, even the smaller lightweight ones. If you actually want to get one that holds up a mirrorless camera, it's just going to be added weight and something else you're going to have to bring with you. So that was something else that I was very, very surprised with. And I will actually show you, this is the tripod that it comes with. It's not the best. You're still going to want to be careful with it and make sure that you pay attention to where you're putting it down, because as we all know, this thing is more delicate and it's not weather resistant, so you can't treat it like an action camera or your phone in a case. But that is something, just the ability to plop it down anywhere, any ledge that you deem is safe. Super, super easy, super, super intuitive. You know, everyone talks about the stabilization, the handheld, the focal length, but as you get more and more advanced in your filmmaking journey, you're probably going to want more static shots, and it's just super, super easy to get a good cinematic shot with that background blur, but still be able to not have all your shots just be this. You see the arm over here, even though this is great. I love filming like this, it's great. It's just nice to be able to set your camera down once in a while and not be worried about taking your tripod out of your back pocket or whatever, taking it out of your backpack. It's just super convenient and really something, again, something that not everyone talks about, not everyone thinks about, but once you experience it by yourself or for yourself, you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. This next advantage, the third pro of this camera, really goes for any camera that is not your phone. It's nice to have a focused product and not just use your telephone for everything, especially if you start using this you're already using this for communications and navigations and emails and pretty much a lot. Start taking photo and video on it as well, especially if you're filming for longer than an hour. You're gonna be filling up your storage space pretty fast, and you're also gonna be draining your battery. What I've done to combat this is I have the 256 gigabyte version, and I typically film in 1080p all the time. And I also always bring extra battery packs in a backpack, since I typically always have a backpack with me. But needless to say, it's still a breath of fresh air to not have to rely on using your phone for everything all of the time. Even the times that I have used my phone mostly, if I have this thing in my backpack, it's just a nice breath of fresh air. It's peace of mind, because you have something that if the camera dies, not a big deal. If your phone dies and you're out and about, a little bit more of a big deal. You can't communicate with anyone, you can't get directions. It's just nice to have that focused product. And whether you have a smaller point and shoot, a Sony ZV-1, or a bigger full frame camera, it's just nice. You don't have to burn through your battery and storage all the time using your phone. Okay, now it is time to talk about the cons of this camera. Same thing as before, these are going to be the cons that you really wouldn't think about. So we already know that this camera doesn't have great weather resistance, and it's more delicate. If you drop it, the chances of it breaking are a lot higher than even if you drop a bigger mirrorless camera or something like your phone in a case. All right, so con number one is going to be, for me in particular, I find that it can limit my creativity. To have to use a gimbal every single time you use this camera can be pretty frustrating sometimes. Again, it's great for plopping on a ledge like I have right now. It's great for walking and pointing it at you. But when you start to turn it around, let's say you want to film the train. If you're filming with your phone, you could be on the ultra wide like you're seeing right now. But now pay attention, you could also quickly turn the phone around. You seeing that? And then you can, of course, you have different options for zoom lenses, but if you like doing a lot of talking and then turning around and catching B-roll fast, this is going to feel a lot more direct, because a phone or any camera without a gimbal is actually going to be easier than constantly, I'll call it, fighting a gimbal. Because while this is great for if you're just walking and talking and doing a longer vlog like this, when you start having to turn it around, I mean, it's not bad. Being stuck at one focal length is okay, and you can control the gimbal so that it definitely moves pretty fast. For getting B-roll shots like that, it is still something that I find I still reach into my pocket and film with my phone a lot more often than with this thing. If I'm just talking straight to the camera most of the time, then yeah, this is great. But if I want to talk, flip it around, catch the environment, I'm using my phone. I just find that this one severely limits me creatively when those are the types of shots or that's the type of video I'm trying to film. The second disadvantage is going to be microphone versatility. And hear me out when I say this, versatility. The fact that you can connect the wireless microphone up super easy is awesome. And the internal audio with using no microphones is still good as well, as long as you're not in a super loud environment. Like right now, we have the elevated subway right above us, and there's the Grand Central Parkway right over there, so it is a little bit crazy. However, when you want to, or if you want to use some sort of a shotgun microphone, if you want to use any other microphone except for the wireless microphone, this is where, again, you are severely limited. You might be thinking to yourself, well, why wouldn't you just use a wireless microphone all the time? Well, sometimes it can sound a bit less natural. It's nice to have that ambient sound, especially if you're outside in New York City or anywhere really. But it's also nice to not always have to worry about turning it on, and it's just another battery at the end of the day. Yes, the wireless microphone has like 5-hour battery life, but it's something you're always going to have to think about charging. And if you don't have this charged, you better make sure you have a backup. You can get a microphone that is right here. I'll show you up on the screen. Just a simple USB-C lav mic, plugs right in the back. That works, but that puts it right on par with the phone. And when you start doing that, is the phone easier? A lot of times, yes, but that's definitely something that a lot of people consider. This last con is pretty obvious. It's similar to B-roll photography. This is not a photo camera at all. You might be thinking to yourself, well, if you wanted to take photos, why wouldn't you just go out and buy a photo camera? You're 100% right. When I purchased this, all I cared about was video. I wanted all the video specs. I didn't care one lick about photos. But then you know what happened? I started to get into photography just a little bit, just so that when I'm out filming these vlogs, I can, number one, have more fun, keep it more interesting, and it just makes for a more dynamic vlog. It just makes things better. It makes the video both more fun to edit, and in my opinion, the video just comes out better. You can't do that with this camera. I mean, sure, you can put it into photo mode and start clicking some pictures, but it is just not a very good experience at all. When I'm taking photos, I like to have an actual photo camera with a grip, and I'd rather just use my phone to take photos if I'm gonna be out there taking photos. However, I don't love taking photos on my phone either. Video is fine, but for photography, I like to have a dedicated photo camera, which means that if you get this camera and you want to take photos as well, you got to carry two cameras, whereas it's really up to you. I would rather just get one really good camera, spend a bit more money instead of having two cameras, and then that's going to be your photo and video camera. But again, same thing like the second point we're talking about. Your mileage may vary. If you like having certain things that do certain jobs, then this is not a big deal for you. Pocketable vlog cameras. Do you like pocketable vlog cameras? For me, I think calling anything a vlog camera is just a marketing gimmick by these companies. And when it comes to pocketable cameras, I've never really got along with it. I always just like to keep my keys, wallet, and phone in my pants pockets. Maybe this thing would go okay in a jacket pocket, but what do you do in the summertime? So I've always struggled with where to put your pocket camera when you're not using it. I also always leave the house with a backpack. I started doing this when moving to Queens, just because you're walking everywhere, you don't always take your car. If you want to stop and get some groceries real fast or just get some toothpaste on your way home, it's nice to not be forced to just hold it constantly in a bag. However, that also means that the pocketability doesn't really matter so much. I'm always carrying a backpack anyway, so just throw it in the backpack. You have it just in case. And of course, the last, but certainly not least disadvantage of this camera is that price increase. Now, it is still a good deal, but it's not like you can go buy one for under $700. Now it's costing you $800. And when we start getting closer to that $1,000 price point, I would honestly rather just spend more and get something like a Sony a6700 with the kit lens, a cheap microphone, a cheap tripod, and a couple of batteries. Yes, that is going to be more than twice the price of this, but you can just do a lot more with that, and you can still invest in lenses and invest in full frame cameras later on. But that's not going to be much heavier than this, and you have an awesome photo and video camera, not just a video camera. Oh yeah, weather resistance is a lot better. It's more robust. That's what I would do. All right, so what does this mean for you? Should you get this camera or not? Well, that's a tough question for me to answer since I am me, not you. But here's what I would advise you. If you're okay using your phone and you don't want to learn how to use a big full frame camera, you want to keep your setup minimal and simple, lightweight, and not as expensive, definitely this thing you should still get. It's very easy to use, especially if you just want to make videos on YouTube. You can run an entire YouTube channel for still about $800, under $1,000 after you take into account the taxes you're going to have to pay. But if you do get into photos later on, you're going to have to go out there and actually buy another camera, just because this camera, you really can't take photos on it. You're better off just using your phone. So if you care more about a hybrid camera, you could go with like a Sony ZV-E10 Mark I. You're not going to get good stabilization. You can step it up to the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II. Better stabilization, but a huge crop. I would personally just deal with my phone and save up and, like I said, get a Sony a6700, just because you're going to get active stabilization with only a 10% crop, which is good enough, honestly. It's, especially if you pair it with a Sony native lens, active stabilization, you almost don't need a gimbal, as long as you don't shake the camera around like crazy. That's definitely what I would start with, just because you're going to have an amazing video and photo camera. And if you still want to invest in a bigger full frame camera down the line, you can do that and keep your a6700 with a crop sensor as a small, lightweight, everyday carry. Or you can go the other route and say, you know, I want something smaller, I want another option that sits between my phone and a crop sensor mirrorless camera. You can still add, I'm going to quote Terry Warfield on this, you can still add the DJI Pocket 3 after purchasing and building out your a6700 kit if you want something that's a bit more lightweight, if you find that this is a camera that you actually want to have. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.